Hey, everybody, welcome into the Nerdy AF podcast. I am Finch. I am here with Kayla, and we are doing kind of a maker roundtable discussion. We have two of our good friends here, Jamal, aka JT Quantum, and Peter Atlanta Iron Man is with us. How is everybody doing today?
Good.
I'm
Doing
pretty,
great.
pretty good, man. Doing really good. Tired, but yeah.
Yeah. So as we talk about the cool thing about it is both you guys being makers and both of you guys have done such phenomenal things. Like the stuff you guys post on Instagram. I look at your guys' build and I'm just like, oh my god, I need to step it up. But we'll start with JT, man. What was like sort of like the origin story of JT Quantum, like when you first like sort of began making?
Oh my goodness. I literally was just talking about this the other day. I did not, first off, there was no JT Quantum. It was what was it? Oh, it was Let's Print Stuff with JT. And it's like, that's a long name. It was long for a logo. And then I was just printing miniatures at the time. So I was doing the little Buddhas. The Mandalorian had just came out. So I'm like, I'm binging that and I'm printing off these little figurines and little statues. And then quarantine hit, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. This is it. I'm building a suit. I'm coming back. So when everything opens up again, I'm gonna have a suit. It's gonna be ready. It's gonna be fantastic. It was that suit, and that suit is 4 years old, collecting dust. It is so bad. I broke the helmet, and it hasn't happened yet. But I mean, I made some pretty cool stuff in the meantime. I mean, like it's all right.
All right,
Nothing to
get out
write
of here.
home about or anything.
JT, from where you started and reflecting on where you are now, what kind of things have you been surprised on, like with that transition of where you started?
um, Honestly, it is just my smoothing techniques. Like before, I was like, oh, I need to sand every nook and cranny, even if it means like burning a hole through the plastic. And now I'm like, man, slap some UV resin on that and call it. And that's pretty much what I do for a lot of my prints. I make sure I wear the proper PPE and I throw it down, and it works. I'm not saying I don't sand at all. It's just it's easier now, and now I'm using higher quality paints, higher quality primer fillers. I'm wet sanding a lot more now, but not like in the ways you may think. Like I don't wet sand my helmets like a whole lot of other people do. I just like I'll do like maybe one or two passes, and then it's straight to primer and then the paint, and then yeah, I'm just my process has changed a lot. And what used to take me weeks for several helmet, and it would take me the fastest I ever pumped out a helmet was for Caleb, aka Dat Boy Builds. I pumped out his first helmet ever in 3 or 4 days. I panicked the whole time. Now with the amount of printers I have now, I can pump out a helmet in one day with all printers going, and then I can, if I push it, sand it, paint it, 2 3 days top, finished helmet. So it's everything's so much faster and smoother now. So it's pretty nuts.
Yeah. The one thing I've noticed, which you guys can tell me if you feel the same way, but COVID is where I think a lot of people ended up getting into 3D printing. And that's where there was very limited knowledge regarding it. There wasn't a lot of post processing information out there. But in the time since then, especially I would say in the last year and a half, 2 years, those post production techniques have really become popular. And there's a lot of switch to using resin now for smoothing or just switching to whole builds. Then now I think it's transitioning to silicone casting for those flexible parts. Like I feel like we're
Yeah,
progressing extremely fast, especially in terms for cosplay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Peter? Where'd you get your start at?
Mine, so I'm 45 years old. I kind of started late in the game, but 2018, I started cosplaying with my daughter, and the first 2 years, we just did like I did Drax, so I was full body painted and everything in the 2 years of Drax, and then the third year, I did the Iron Man, but I did it out of foam. First time ever building. I bought a helmet and built the rest of it out of foam. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to buy a printer because it sounds expensive, it sounds crazy. But I'm gonna tell you this, all credit to people that do foam build. It is not easy. The cutting, the pasting, the gluing. And then I didn't paint it. I actually wrapped it with automotive wrap vinyl. So it looked like chrome. It was, for what I did, it was great. It's on my Instagram. It was my first build. It was good for what I did. And I was like 2020. And then I said, I'm gonna buy a printer and just do it. And then the first suit you guys saw was that first year was when I first 3D printed, and I just went for it. And I learned from a lot of people, including Frankly Built. And I think the major thing I learned from him, he's like, learn this stuff and learn the process before you buy a printer. So I got Cura and I got Mesh Mixer 6 months before I even bought the printer. And I learned the process, learned how to cut the files, learned how to make them, learned how to size it. And I was already getting prints made and ready before I even had a printer. And I told my wife, I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on a printer if I'm going to fail at that part. So I bought a CR10S Pro with my first printer, still have it right there, and just started printing the suit and fell in love with it. And it's a rabbit hole. And I mean, but the whole time I was meeting people from all over the world. I was meeting, online at Jamal and Caleb and those guys and Ryro Builds and Frankly Build, and all these guys are just open, and locally Kersey Fabs is like down the street from me. We hung out this past weekend at an event together, and just so many guys. That's what I love about automotive, about a cosplay, is that the whole thing is open. Everyone's out to help each other. There's no secrets. So like, hey, I did it this way, it didn't work, you should try it this way. So now I have 2 completely full built suits, and I'm building my third, which is actually, I can say it's pretty much done. It's a UGA Iron Man suit. So go Dogs. I'm Georgia, so that's what I got coming out, and it's pretty much good. But unlike Jamal, my path a little different. So I learned my strengths, and my strength is not paint. Oh man, I'm not a painter. I can sand. I'll sand and wet sand and do some early staging. But when it comes to paint, I got a buddy of mine is a cosplayer also, and he actually does the painting. I outsource the actual paint work, but he's like in a full automotive paint shop that paints these suits. So
pays to have talented friends.
It does. It does.
Goodness.
And I think when I met these guys, like, man, how'd you get that paint? I'm like, guys, listen, I sanded and did this, but I got an automotive painter. Like, he paints in a booth, and I'm like, that's the difference. And the clear coat is on point, and the pearl's on point. So yeah, big difference.
I still think back, and I remember the video and the captures of it. I was looking at that like it was a piece of pizza. I was like, this is the best thing on earth. I was like, damn, you're right. And I feel like the automotive paint people are now looking at more as well, again, as we learn techniques and stuff like that. Like, people are investing in full on paint booths for their cosplays, which I don't really think that a lot of people were doing before.
Well, this is like a piece off my new one, and it's black, and you can see just,
nasty.
I mean,
look at that.
And it's just, and sanded, just a little bit of sanding and just gloss black, and the 85 is going to light up for this with the UGA one. So it's going to be all, instead of arc reactors, have a number, and it's going to light up for the number instead. So and my things in builds also is that I'm all about just doing stuff differently and doing it my way. I can look at 1,000 videos and it sounds easy, but oh man, I mess it up. I'm like, I can't get that joint the same way. And like, I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm a Puerto Rican my way out of it. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna tweak it this way, and it'll work for me. So
yeah. Well, the market there got so saturated for a while with like Mark 85s. Like, it was just everybody and their brother. It was like, couple of those there, there were those people who like blazed the trail right out there, like Frankly Built and those guys. And I'm not taking anything away from anybody, look phenomenal. And then everybody out there was like, oh, if I build a Mark 85, I'll have 200,000 followers by tomorrow. And then they were getting frustrated when they weren't. And it's like,
grow up, Peter Pan.
So my base is a Mark 85, but the Braves one, it's completely different, and the UGA one, completely different. But my wife was like, you need to build a Mark 85, just a basic one, a regular one. So she goes, that way when you go out to events that like aren't like cosplay events. Like look, usually I'm doing like local events like a church now and like kids events. And I got it to my heart, really close to my heart. This past Dragon Con, the charity was Cure Childhood Cancer, and I had cancer when I was young. So I went to them. I was like, guys, I'm a cancer survivor. I want to be in the parade with you guys. And they go, yeah, definitely. So I wore the Braves Iron Man suit in the parade, and I reached out to them. They said, hey, we have an event in 24. We want you to come to it. So I'm like, I'm going to make an 85. That's a basic 85, but a nice one that everyone can tell. And my wife's like, that 51 that has wings and has weapons and all this stuff. She goes, why don't you have a nice one that you can take to the hospital? I'm like, that makes sense. That makes
a nice one. I take offense to that. The bigger, the better, man.
Well, Mark 85s are great. I mean, they're 100% great for local events because people aren't used to seeing that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like just walking around. But when you compare it, like relatively to the Instagram world, where so many people have a Mark 85, not taken away from like the work it takes to make one of those phenomenal. But yeah, absolutely. I've definitely thought about that. Peter, you've got me like, you've had me like 100% inspired. As soon as I get on the other side of the first year, I'm making a Chicago Cubs Iron Man suit. And I'm so excited for that one. I can't wait to
bring it.
I can't wait to go to.
We will. I know you guys took Swanson from us. And I heard you were this close to getting Ohtani. So
yeah, we were
wearing
close
together.
The nice thing about a Cubs Iron Man suit, unlike yours, it doesn't break in October. So I had to. Never mind the fact we had a dog shit year. But anyway, Kayla, we'll round it up to the top because I don't even know if in a podcast we ever like got into this. What was it that I mean, we did long time ago when you and I first met and you were on the old podcast. But I mean, for like nerdy AF listeners, what was it that like got you into building and 3D printing and all those things?
Yeah, I started with my PC build where I wanted to have a complete like Iron Man themed like ensemble where I have a picture I should definitely throw up as like a throwback, but I had my like a custom screensaver for Jarvis, and then I had my huge TV above everything. So it was like a double monitor plus TV setup that I had everything. It looked like a command center. And I was like, this is going to be the start. Like, I want a Tony Stark inspired, like, gaming setup. And because that was during COVID, and that was something I actually finally got back into. Like, that was always a huge love of mine was gaming. And granted, it only lasted during COVID because now I'm a busy person and an adult, which sucks ass. But now, right, yeah, it's like the tragedies of today's life. But since then, I started dreaming bigger, and I said, I want to have a whole Marvel room. I want to have a whole wall full of stuff. And I wasn't about spending all that money, especially when I saw Frankly Built's videos of him making the same things that I just wanted to put on my wall. And I was like, to make it myself, I've always been very artistic and creative, like doing photography, creating, painting, that kind of stuff. So I was like, I probably could do 3D printing. I still can't do the modeling part or anything, but I can resize files, edit that stuff. And it was a new skill that I learned when everyone was making bread at home. I took it one step further, which is pretty cool. And then now, if anyone's seen my Instagram, I have not been active lately. I have taken a big step back, and I'm kind of jumping more into the reading realm right now, rediscovering a lot of childhood loves and interests. But it would be something I would like to get back into once I fix some printers. That's the hard part, is if you have several broken printers and you haven't touched them for a year and a half, it's really daunting to get back into it.
That'll do it. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I have been there.
You walk away from your printer for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Where that
explodes, it hits the self-destruct button.
Yeah, it's in outer space at this point. As part of me just wants to buy a new printer to get that joy back.
Yep.
Where I don't have to even worry about fixing it, because I'm like, that will do it for me. But I do have two little enders that are just waiting for me to start them up, and they're fully functional. It's just finding something to print.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it.
Yeah, we run it on E over here.
Yeah, that can be speaking of like keeping that in mind as we like sort of run with that theme. Do you guys like have like run across certain things that for whatever reason like really ground down either your enthusiasm, your creativity, like you just are feeling like 100% make or burn out, because it's 100% a thing. Like I think we've all experienced. We'll start with you, Peter. What have you come across?
Um, Parts just not working out, because like I said, you look at the 85, for example, perfect example, and everybody's body is different and the joints are different. Some people print the same suit 100,000 different ways. And sometimes it has gaps, sometimes it doesn't have gaps. I mean, mine fits completely different. I don't think anyone has made it the way mine's crazy. Mine's backpack and almost like a girdle that holds around the corner, and I have flexibility. Other people don't. Some people have more flexibility than I do. But sometimes when in your head, you're like, sometimes you wake up, you're like, oh, I got the perfect idea. I'm gonna make it fit this way, and then you try to put it together, and it just doesn't work out. And Jamal knows too. It's sometimes you're at the con, and then that one piece just breaks. I'm like, no. So, for example, Dragon Con. So this past year, the parade is about to start. I'm there for an hour and a half early. Everything's great. I had the whole suit ready. And all of a sudden, like 10 minutes before the parade starts, 10 minutes, I start laying the parts out. Let me get dressed real quick. I got this. I'm missing the abs. I left it at the Marriott Hotel, and it was like maybe like 20-minute walk or something like that. So I'm freaking out. I call my friends that are at the hotel and my brother-in-law. They bring it down. I'm walking over there with half the suit on, get dressed, and then I walked all the way back. And the parade route is a long parade route. So people are like, hey, we'll take a picture. I'm like, I can't. I'm not fully dressed, but I'll be right back. And on the way back, I'm like, I got to make it to the parade. I made it just in time. The parade had just started. I made it just in time for the parade. But it was just like, yeah. It was tough. It was tough. But that's what usually discourages me. Just things not fitting, things not working out. And also, I'm going to tell you this, social media is hard. Being on social media and being active enough to be relevant is, it's kind of like, sometimes I sit back, I'm like, I don't have to post like every day. I don't have to post at all. I got a full-time job and I have all this stuff going on. So, I'm pumping out like a suit every couple months, and that's good, So, but sometimes you fall in the trap, like, man, this guy's making this, and I'm like, oh, I've only made like one suit. He's making like 9 suits. I'm like, ugh. So I don't know if did I answer the question? Did I go a little off rails?
That's okay. This show, like our tagline, is off the rails, I think.
Off the rails.
So yeah. It's okay. How about you, Jamal? What do you got?
Following Peter, just pretty much every single time this suit leaves the house, something fails catastrophically, and like almost 75% of the time, it's in the groin region. I'm like, come on, why? It broke. My codpiece broke one way for my photo shoot I did at the Bengals stadium, and then for the rest of the photo shoot, it's like from here up. And I'm like, man, this sucks. What else did at GalaxyCon, it just happened about 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it happened recently. I broke the codpiece again, and it's so funny because I had my handler guiding me, because I have lost weight since the first time I put on the suit. So the helmet is so big on me now. So the helmet's flopping down. So when I'm looking up at people looking menacing, what's really going on inside the helmet, it's like, oh, look at those ankles. Man, look at those ankles. Because I can't see. And so there's that, and just I hit the curb, and just from the tip of the boot all the way up the shin to the knee to the thigh, and boom, all that power went right into the codpiece and crack. And I'm like, nobody move. What happened? You're good. I'm like, I don't feel okay. Somebody needs to check me out. What happened? No, you're good. Nothing. And I'm like, I have movement. What is this movement? I feel air. What is that? And like, don't freak out. And I'm like, don't freak out. What? You're like, so you're a little exposed right now, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll go get the tape and we'll come right back. And I'm like, I don't gotta wear tape. Like, come on. But it worked out, honestly. And the majority of those pictures and videos and stuff we took, it was phenomenal. Like I kind of like pivoted so you couldn't see it, which just the contour, the suit, and just like you have one clean suit and then the rest are zombies. And it's like, okay. No one's even gonna notice this. They're just gonna think it's like battle damage or something. Fantastic. Just I've been there, honestly. Or like another explanation, and not to like drone on for too long. Making the same thing over and over and over and over again, like for Etsy, for Instagram, for your friends, for your family. I love Star Wars. I love Marvel. I love DC. But if I make another Mando Din Djarin, if I make another Blue Beetle, and if I make another Star Lord, I'm going to freak the hell out. I love all the people who support me and who want these things made from me, because I never thought I'd be at that point where someone would actually want something that I made myself. But goodness gracious, like when what was it, season 2 came out, orders flooded in, Pre Vizsla, and then it just caveated right back into Boba Fett, and then boom, right into Din. And I'm like, okay, like I can do this. And then it's like, oh, hey, Guardians is coming out. People are like, oh, well, he's got the classic suit, so he's gonna have the helmet. All the orders coming. And I'm like, I'm getting a little stressed out, but this is kind of cool. But and then of course the Blue Beetle drops. And I'm like, I did one like months ago. No one's even gonna remember. And then they're like, yo, you did one. Let's get one. And I'm like, okay, but don't tell anyone. And of course they tell people, and it's like order, order, order. And I'm like, goodness, I need to vanish for a little bit.
Which like honestly, I'm sorry, but Jamal and I, we talk a few times, and I'll call him throughout the year. And I think the last time we talked, I was on the way home from work, and he was telling me all his orders. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how anybody does all these special orders and builds, and then to make the other person happy with what they're buying. I'm like, oh, it's hard enough to build something for yourself. It's hard enough to build something for yourself, let alone somebody else, like other side of the world in most cases, that wants something that you built, but it's just, but and then also when it comes to cosplay, I think the funniest thing for me is that whatever you think you see is your biggest flaw in the suit, no one else sees. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'll come up and I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry about that corner, that little standing spot right there. That's horrible. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's the most horrible thing in the whole suit. They go, dude, Peter, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's on the underside. I'm like, I know, but it's horrible. I got to throw this whole thing away. They go, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah.
Throws the whole suit away. My goodness.
F this suit. Yeet it.
Like, I'm done. Spasura.
But yeah, I could feel that, because I sort of feel like when I make something, there'll be like little spots that I know are there, but nobody else does, but it still drives me nuts. And there are very few things I have made for other people. I've got one I'm making right now, and just today I like resanded part of it. Like when all I had left was clear coat, I started resanding a part of it because I could see just a little bit of layer lines, and I'm like, no, this is for somebody else. It's got to be perfect.
Got to be pristine. Ooh,
yes.
I don't know if it's the time for that, but I wanted to show you guys something I've been working on, because I find that as a maker, and like you literally just took the words out of my mouth, when you make things for yourself, you're like, this is cool. I dig it. And like sometimes you'll have a hater. Sometimes like you'll know something's there, and then you'll hyper focus on it. You're like, man, I can see that. I hope no one else can. But just I do my best work for other people, and I'm like, man, why can't I have that? I made it. Like, but like I made another Master Chief helmet, which it's almost done, and it's honestly some of my best work yet. Like I put a resin visor in there, and I had like Caleb teach me how to do all that, and like I got some weathering in there. The color, like, yeah, it's probably not the base color that most people want, but like doing olive and then wanting to do metallics and stuff, like I just wanted to do it different. It's a Christmas gift for a friend of mine at work, so I wanted to go all out. And I'm like, man, that's a sweet helmet.
I have to.
I want it so bad, but like I also don't want to give up my color changing one. But
I got to
But it's gonna
talk to
take so
you.
much time to make another one. So
Yeah, I got to
it's a
talk to you
little.
off the air about visors because I literally have a Master Chief helmet printed and I've got it primed, but I haven't done like finished painting on it mainly because I have no idea how to do the visor for that thing. But
Caleb, yeah.
yeah, so I'm going to be talking to you and Caleb. Anyway, we'll
Oh,
shelve that one.
absolutely.
I had a question for you guys. Because I know we were talking a little bit about it, that work-life balance, and then when it comes to the hobbies afterwards. And I feel like a lot of people have gotten into 3D printing as a side thing where they might be able to kind of get into it a little bit, kind of not. Same thing for the social media. So when it comes to the kind of balance that you guys achieve, how does it really work for you guys working, a job, doing orders or doing cosplay? Like, how do you guys make it work that can like, teach someone else who's trying to make it more of a regular thing in their life?
Well, if I may first, because mine's a lot smaller than what Jamal has going, because he has orders and everything. Mine's simply making stuff for me, making stuff for my family. I made a Mando and stuff for my nephews and everything and stuff they want everything. But it's hard because a full-time job, I'm working so many hours a week, but 5 days a week. I have a wife, I have two kids, or they're grown. I'm about to be a grandfather next year. So,
Whoa.
yeah,
Congrats.
I know, next year. So it's like I have so much, and it's hard. And then and then the balance of the social media. And then like you want to be online, but then you don't want to be online. So luckily, my wife is really understanding, and I've got a little area downstairs. We have now that the kids are gone, I have a little room downstairs. I have all my printers and everything. I used to be in the garage, and now I'm inside, and I have everything set up. And but it's the balance is hard. I mean, even with that, it's hard because you still have to give time to learn. You have to have time to make the files. You have to make time to print. You have to make time to prep. You have to make time to sand, and then get everything for paint, all this stuff, and then you have to make time to put everything together. And then so my downfall sometimes is that I just run out of time. So I'm getting close to it, and everyone's like, "Oh, Dragon Con's like 9 months away." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a lot. That's nothing." I go 9 months. I go, that's but then you watch some people make in 9 days. They can make a full suit in 9 days. They go, I started like on Tuesday of last week, and I'm done right now. I'm like, yeah, Ryro. No, but I talked to him, and it's like, Ryro, bro, you have a full-time job, and he travels, he does all this stuff, he goes all over the United States, and I'm like, how do you do it? I'm like, and he does all the social media. I'm like, he does it, he balances, and he has orders, he has all this stuff. I'm like, I'm just doing a suit for myself, and my biggest customer is me. And I'm like, I don't know how this guy's gonna be. I don't know this guy's gonna get a suit. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Plus, I gotta say that I'm jealous of this, you guys, because Finch, you have, when you do those cosplays of the medieval stuff, and like you can get away with it. It just looks so good, And just when I met you guys, you did the Rogue, and it would look so great, Kayla. And I was like, man, she just fits like Rogue. It looks perfect. I'm a bald guy, like 5'7". There's not many cosplays I can do that aren't suit related that I can pull off, So I'm in that corner. So, but yeah, but Jamal, please, I know you got a lot going on your plate.
In terms of balance, we have no balance. Yeah, it's just a wild roller coaster of thoughts and emotions. False motivation is, yeah. It's like, do you want to be homeless? Make that helmet. I'm like, yeah, get in there, make that helmet. Nah, it's not like that. But like, honestly, I just try and push and carve out the time, because I know that with repetition, I'll just get better and better and better. And I want to just kind of like stamp my name up there with some of the bigger names and stuff like that. Not so much as like for a comparison reason. I aspire to like get to that skill level, as like you would see like a scholar, like, oh, he knows so much, I want to know what he knows, stuff like that. Honestly, I don't know how I keep it going. It's sleep. It's probably not the best. It almost every single, like at the end of every order, it's kind of feels like a con crunch. And it's just getting, my biggest thing is making a product that looks super awesome to the naked eye, looks badass behind a camera, and then will survive the trip to its location. Um, what I am lacking right now is just the dependability of the U.S. Postal Service not stomping on my packages. Like, I just it's been rough making sure things get there. I've sent things as far as Australia, but for some reason in the States, it's just I think I'm gonna be hitting up Finch after this one. I'm like, hey man, you mind making sure this gets to the right place? Because
I make no promises, bro.
That's fine.
I'm one
That's
tiny
fine.
cog.
That's totally fine. I trust you. You have one of those.
I get nervous sending my own stuff. Sometimes, like, I've seen the insides of those semis, and I'm like, I'm gonna package that better before it goes. Like,
I'm about to invest in stock in like wooden crates. It's like, try and crush this UPS,
right?
Which is it with a truck, like with a truck. It's like, oh, you crushed it. All right,
we'll find a way. That is crazy. The the bizarre thing is, and because this kind of entered my mind. There is something. There's like, I don't know where you guys stand with con crunching, but there's almost like a love-hate relationship with it, because I sort of like have this like theory where like things that are fun memories aren't fun at the time they're happening, right? Yes. But like something that's fun in the moment, you may not like. If you go on a roller coaster, okay, that was like cheap thrill, that was fun. 10 years later, you're gonna be like, man, you remember that roller coaster on July 23rd? No. But if you are con crunching and it sucks, you will look back on it years later like, man, you remember that time like 10 years ago when I con crunched the C2E2 and got that bitch done at the last second? Man, that was badass. And at the time, you're like, I don't ever want to see Primer again in my life, right?
Yep. I honestly, I love it. It inspires me. Like right now, like I said, I got so many months for Dragon Con, and I'm like, the suits. I got this third suit done, and the fourth suit. I'm starting printing the fourth suit out like this in January. I'm like, I got like so many months. But if it was July and Dragon Con's in August, I'm like, oh man, I got 4.5 weeks to do the entire thing. I don't know how to do it, and I love that. And honestly, my biggest cheerleader was my wife. She's like, what are you doing upstairs? I'm like, I want to watch a show. She goes, no, you got like 4 weeks. You better get down there. She goes, you started this thing. You better finish it. And she's like, no. She goes, watch that show later. You've already seen this movie. Go down there and finish it. I'm like, hey, so if she if it weren't for her, I wouldn't finish any of my suits, because I'm like, I got like 4 weeks. I can do this in 4 weeks. She goes, no, I know you. She goes, I know you. It's not gonna happen. So I love Con Crunch. I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah,
it's a love.
I love it
deeply.
Yeah, but then when you're there and you're walking around and people are like, wow, and you're like, man, I did it. I got it done. Not to say that the night before, like I was gluing stuff the night before every con. I'm gluing stuff and fixing stuff. And,
just how it goes.
Yeah.
If you don't show up to a con with spray paint on your fingernails and you just kind of smell like acetone, and when you wipe your nose, you got like dust in there because you forgot to put your PPE back on, and while you're standing, you're like, I feel rough and dirty, but you know what? I look fly as hell, so let's do
it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to take up so much airspace, but back in November, I had gotten this notion, like my idea for like a camouflage like scout trooper, and I got this idea.
Yeah.
I got this idea less than a month before Twin Cities Con, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and I was hammering it out. And I got to the point where like 3 days before the con, I was doing the first, like everything was done. And I was doing the first like full fitting, like for the first time. And I had because I printed a whole sniper rifle for this thing. And my wife had like just placed in my hand. I've got the helmet on for the first time. It's kind of like, what can I see? And I dropped the rifle. And in my panic of fear of dropping it, I like jerked to grab it. And as I jerked, the chest plate cracked down the sternum, clean through top to bottom. I mean, just like a chest splitter, just crack. So I literally took a helmet that I had printed. I was so angry, but I'm determined. I'm like, one way or another, I'm doing this. I had a helmet it was another Scout Trooper helmet that I'd printed, but I hadn't sanded or anything. And I literally took a hot knife and cut like a 3-inch section of it off, put it on the back side of that chest plate, and melted that thing in. An elephant could stand on that chest plate right now, and the sternum is not going to crack. There's so much play. You look at the back of it; it's a disaster. But and then, of course, because it was finished, then it's like then I had to quick like sand, prime, paint, hydro dip, everything. And yeah, sure enough, I think I dipped that thing the day before we left for the con. But you guys are absolutely right. But then when you actually walk around the con and people are like, dude, that's badass. You're like, hell yeah, it is.
Makes you feel better.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which reminds me, because the first year you all met me, my 85 had a helmet off of like a Mark 6 helmet. And it was one that I bought separately. And because what happened was 3 nights before Dragon Con, the whole system failed. I couldn't get the Raspberry Pi. Nothing was working. The electronics took a dump. I just couldn't get it to work. And then the fitment on the helmet, nothing was working. And I called Kersey. I was like, Kersey, I don't know what to do, man. I go, I just can't figure this out. Nothing's working, and the fitment's off. And then he goes, man, look at your other helmet. Just fix your other helmet. And one day, my paint guy painted the old helmet that matched the colors. In one day, got it back to me, and I got the night before, put all the electronics back together, and it worked. It was literally one day before Dragon Con when I finally got it back, and I had that's because you're looking like, hey, you have an 85, but you have a Mark 6 helmet. But then Jamal will tell you when he met me, he goes, I had the butt piece from a Mark 47.
Oh yeah, like in my head, I'm picking it apart, but I'm like, this fits though. This will fly. This is good. It's fine. Like,
but I fixed it since then. I fixed it since then. But that's because stuff failed. It was just yeah. But Con Crunch, love it. How about you, Jamal?
Oh, the amount of sweat and stress and sleep, just I can't sleep, can't stop stressing because I can hear my own heartbeat. I'm like, why are you sleeping right now? You need to get up and get out there and go sand something. You know you're not close to being done. And like, just I don't want to procrastinate, but like I do have other things to do, whether it's hanging out with friends, hanging out with Caleb, Chris, Nick, James, like any one of them, or even Daryl. I try and make time for myself, but just when it comes to the crunch, it's tough. It's kind of like back in school when like, good and well, you got a test in the morning. You're like, but the new COD just came out, so I'm just going to do this real quick. You're like, but I should really study. And you're just up till 3, and you're like, okay, like, if I go to sleep right now, I'm going to get X amount of sleep. And then next thing you know, it's like a navy blue outside and the birds are going. You're like, I messed up. Like, oh my God, I did not sleep last night at all. I got to be to work. I have to function. Like, what's going on? So just the crunch, it's not the most fun thing for me, but it is the most rewarding. You do find out what you're made of and what you can do in a pinch. Like you have your quick thinking skills and just, this wire snapped. Oh, how do I route this? Like, even I've wired my helmet in one night, and it's not conventional at all. I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone besides Caleb and Chris in person. The wires that connect my helmet to my Alicia board, they're from an Ender 5.
What?
Yes. Is it an Ender 5 or is it a CR10S?
It's fucking crazy.
But
is what it
like connects. You gotta see this. It is the wonkiest thing you'll ever see.
Frankenstein over here.
Oh my God.
Yes. All the wires I color coded and I counted because I'm super ADHD and OCD for some stupid reason. And just, oh my goodness. It was a long, long night. But when I finally connected it, first try and everything powered up, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This works.
Winning the lottery over there.
Oh my goodness. And like I have the cables that snap in and like, you have to like push the little tab to get it to release, but you screw this into the main power, you're not losing power. You don't have to worry about anything disconnecting. What you need to worry about is just walking and then your suit goes yaga and just like pulls the whole thing back. You don't want that, but I never ran into that. So yeah, a lot of the things I do shouldn't exist. They shouldn't work, but for some weird reason they do, and I don't get it myself. It just happens that way.
That thing looks like it has so much copper in it. Meth heads are going to steal it in the middle of the night.
They can try. We've had this discussion. People can steal my skin. They can't touch my suit. Goodness. Too many memories. Painful ones, but too many.
Oh, God, that's good.
But it's funny because the weather outside comes to play with Con Crunch. Like Jamal was saying, that if it's beautiful weather, you're like, oh man, I want to be doing something different. But it also if it was raining, I'm like, I just wanted to rain all week, and I'll just sit in the house and do a little rip. But you can't, because if it's raining outside, there's moisture in the air, and you can't paint well. So it's like, man, you need really hot, nice, dry weather. But it is like, I'm gonna go get my tan on. I don't need to, there's so many other excuses you have. Like, I'm a car guy. I'm like, I'm gonna go wash my car and have my car clean for Dragon Con, because I can't have a dirty car on taking Dragon Con. So it's just like, I gotta wash the wheels now, and there's always an excuse, But I'm hoping this year. I'm hoping I don't con crunch as much, but I know myself. Yeah, I'll be con crunching at the very end. Very end. The suit's pretty much done right now, but I'm like, there's no incentive. I'm like, man, I got like 7 months. What am I doing for 7 months? But yeah, but luckily next year I'm not just doing Dragon Con, I'm doing some other stuff too. So a lot more stuff locally, because I found this past year, like, doing stuff locally that's not like at a con, people are just like, whoa, how'd you do that? I'm like, oh, this, you're used to like talking to people at a con that know what you're doing. I'm like, because at work, I'm like, yeah, I have like I have an Iron Man suit. They go, what do you mean? I go, I have an Iron Man suit. And I show them the picture, the video. Like, wait a minute, you do? I'm like, yeah, it's nothing crazy. And then, because I'm used to like showing it with like a bunch of builders, but with people that don't know what you're doing, like, what do you mean you 3D printed that? Like, in your house? I'm like, yeah, I have 2 printers. They go, what do you mean you have 2 printers in your house? I'm like, how big are they? I'm like, this big. They're just normal printers. I'm just used to answering those questions in a field of people that know what you're doing. And like, what do you mean you're going here? This past weekend we did in Atlanta, it's a DreamHack. It's a con for like gaming, and it was really nice. And the gaming community was great. They're just open people. It was really nice to see. The lighting was great there, and just had a great time. So there was one picture we took with the Air Force. That was like my most favorite one.
That was
like
dope.
me and Kirsty were walking around. The Air Force guys like, hey, can we take pictures of that? They go, definitely. They go, hey, let's go in front of the Air Force. I'm like, even better. Let's do this. So it's just, yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I'm already ready. I'm already ready. So.
Yeah, my Dragon Con suit is still in pieces. Nothing has been sanded. I still have a leg to print.
Is that George?
Ah, good eye. Yes, it is George. Yeah. So you can go ahead and thank Caleb for that one. He wanted to make me the biggest, cuddliest, most ferocious one on Noble Team. Noble Team is happening.
You
myself,
I heard
James, Chris, Nick, and
Michael, right?
Who?
Wait, no, who else? Third dimension.
And Mike. There we go. That's
yeah.
How did I forget Mike? Oh my god.
That's
terrible.
Who's doing Cat? So I need to know right now who's doing Cat.
You know who's doing Cat.
Tell me it's Ryro.
It's Ryro.
No, who
He's
is it?
Doing Cat.
Is he really?
I kid you not. He's doing Cat.
My wife and I were legitimately just talking about Halo Reach today and how much we enjoyed taking turns finding ways of offing Cat during that campaign. It was the most annoying NPC on the planet.
Oh my goodness. Just yeah. I think if I'm understanding the story correctly, he tried this was like James's like brain baby child thing. He wanted to do it last year or something. Something happened. It didn't work out. He was the only one who like had printed out all this stuff, and he didn't have a group. And so I guess Caleb had gotten in his ear, and he's like, maybe you picked the wrong group. Maybe you should ask some of the guys in the group chat. And just everyone signed off like, yes, yes, yes. Let's consolidate like resources and like intel if we need to. Like, let's talk color schemes. Let's talk weapons. Let's talk who's wearing what, who's going to be what character. And then I ended up with George, and I'm like, man, but he dies though. But
They all die.
yeah, but I didn't like how I died. So
He went out in a noble fashion.
I'm gonna have to like make like magnetic pieces and just have like the sword just coming through and stuff. It's I'm gonna have to do that at some point. I'm gonna make it clean-ish. It's gonna have like all the kind of nastiness and stuff on it. But I mean, yeah, it's huge. I have not busted out that much filament in a long time. This right here is just over I think it's about 18 rolls of filament.
Whoa.
That's a lot. George is big.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how I'm 6 even right now. I need to be 6'8".
Yeah.
That's
Spartan shoes are huge.
So like I'm just on all of the wrong pages and stuff, and just like the weirdest stuff will pop up. I'm like, I promise, like just my FBI agent, I'm not being a weirdo, but I need to see what type of boots these people are rocking with, because I need some giant platforms, but I don't want to look like weird or goofy. I don't want to make it look like, oh yeah, he's 6'8", but he has size 9 feet. What's going on there?
JT, I have some 5-inch heels you can borrow.
Oh hell yeah!
They will make your calves look amazing.
My thighs look all sexy. Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not
You can choose red or yellow, whatever you prefer.
Oh, red. We'll do
Yeah, you're gonna burn Murray to the ground in those things.
Could you
boy.
imagine though, like half of a Halo suit and then like high heels that are
Prada.
like knee high?
I will have the boys, especially Pseudo Photography Nick. I will have him take that picture specifically for you guys and reference you.
Yes.
And we'll tag you, and we can make it happen. I have some nice ass legs. You guys just haven't seen them.
Yes.
So watch out for that.
Spartan wears Prada. I want to see the caption right now.
Oh yes, for sure.
Featured on Only Finch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only Finch was the name we decided on because we thought Finch eggs was a little too on the nose. So we decided to go with. Well, awesome, you guys. We're running to the point where we're up against the clock. What we will say is, there anything that you guys want to say to anybody out there listening to this who's thinking about getting into building or making for the first time? I'll let Peter go first on that one.
I say go with it, run with it. It's so much fun. I mean, and the thing I've learned in my time doing it is that there's no right answer. It's just love. And the community, I'm a guy who's got car community experience as well. The car community and cosplay community is different, because it's just the cosplay community is just so open. There's no secrets. Everyone's out to help each other. Any question you have, any issue you have, someone's had it. Someone's had that issue already. Someone's had that question already. And you can make unlimited. The world's open. Like Jamal was saying earlier, every single show comes out, there's a file for it immediately. You know, every music that comes out, there's a song that comes out, someone has a file for that song. There's just so much to build. And I say you can take any part of it and own it. You know, like my little niche is just my own stuff that I love. I love the Braves, so I made a Braves too. I love, Georgia sports. I'm making UGA one. I love the 51 I built. It was I saw it in a comic, and I was like, it was just a deviant art in the comic, and I was like, I want to build that. There was no files, so Jamal put me together with one of his guys that makes files, and he made me the files. So I started printing it, and then people were like, when I first wore it past year at MomoCon, people were like, is that the 51? I'm like, yeah. They go, there's no files. So I'm like, yeah, I had them specially made because I wanted to be the first to have it, and that was so much fun to have that. So there was another guy, Carnage, that he built at the same time. And it's cool because he built a version of 51 and I built my own version of 51. And two of us had two 51s at the same time. And he and I were going back and forth. Great guy. If you ever talked to him, he was helping me out with ideas. He goes, hey, I tried this already. You should look at this. We talked about paints together. He goes, I'm going to go this route. He goes, I'm going to go this route. So we debuted pretty much at the same time. The guy all the way. Everyone in the community has been amazing. You guys, I love meeting you guys. And I fanboyed out meeting you guys, everyone. I was like, and I hope to see you guys in Dragon. Are you guys thinking Dragon Con this year? Or
I don't know. Part of the problem that at least I don't know where Kayla's at with it. Kayla can drive to Dragon Con. I have to fly, and this past September they had the very first Uncanny experience in Minneapolis, which is a lifelong X-Men fan, was the most amazing thing in the world. I will always go to that one, but it is so close to Dragon Con that it makes it really hard to because I can drive to Minneapolis. It's like a 5-hour drive. Atlanta's a flight. And, so a lot of it's going to come down. Like, I may not even know till like a month before whether I'm going to be able to make that. A lot of it's going to come down to, finances, whether I've got the time I can take off work, whether my wife's going to, beat me senseless for leaving town for another weekend for a con or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Hope I'll see you guys. Definitely, man. It's been a great experience, and thank you for letting me join you guys tonight, because I've enjoyed every minute of it, meeting you guys. And I said, like, answer the question, I say just go for it. Just whatever your passion is, build it. Have fun with it. There's no right or wrong. There's skill levels are all over across different charts. There's and the community loves everything. If you make it yourself, great. If you think it failed, so other people are gonna think it's amazing. And if you think amazing, and you're going to love it even better. So it was and it's just so much to watch, and I'm happy for it. Yeah, go for it, definitely. Yeah.
JT.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jamal?
Absolutely, just the same thing. My thing was when I first got into 3D printing, it was just I was kind of half cocked. I'm like, 3D printing's easy. It's just you take it out of the box, you slap some screws in it, and you load up a file, and you just hit and go. I bought a Prusa i3, and I never got that thing to work. I reprogrammed it. I bought new parts. I rebuilt that thing so many times. Never got it to work. So from that failure, it's all about preparation, like just Batman style. Just if I have the prep time, I can do this. But I did the homework. I researched and researched. I read books. I read just online articles, and then just some crazy guy named Frank comes out of the woodworks, and I'm like, who's this guy? All right, cool. And then you have Rogues Gallery and just all these other amazing builders who just, and I'm like, okay, well now I have some like more like, they're like me. So like they're learning, I'm learning. So let's learn together. I would say just honestly research, ask questions. If you type in how to insert X on YouTube, you can find anything at all. 3D printing related, foam smithing, anything at all in any niche, any category. Just honestly dive in head first. Just be prepared for the failures. They will come. Even the greatest of them, there are failures. You're going to have clogs. Your machine could you have a thermal runaway error, or you just have a wire snap and you just don't know where it is. Things are going to happen. Brace yourself and enjoy it. Honestly, it's probably one of the most rewarding things that I've done. Ever. And it keeps giving me lots and lots of purpose. So I would say just go for it.
And lots of orders.
It's time to.
Kayla, you got anything to add to that?
Nope. Honestly, especially you guys said it all. In reality, I think the biggest thing is community. That's why we are all here today. So maybe I do have something to say. If you're looking for a place, if you're looking for people who are going to support you, push you, and inspire you, this is exactly where you're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic community. There has never ever been a person that I reached out to with a question. They didn't answer it honestly, and like legitimately cared about whether like they answered it. You know, it's one of the things I love about the community. Nobody has a closely guarded trade recipe secret that they keep under lock and key. Everybody says, "Hey, look, I created doing this. Here's a 50-minute video on YouTube about exactly how I did it."
Yeah.
I'll watch it too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna wrap this thing up. We both want to thank you guys so very much for coming on the podcast. Guys, if you're not listeners out there, if you're not following any of these people, we got Peter at Atlanta Ironman on Instagram. We got Jamal at JT Quantum on Instagram. Of course, my awesome co-host Kayla at BeansAF on Instagram, and I am Finch at FinchAF on Instagram. Once again, thank you everybody, and hope we get to talk to you again another time.
Most definitely. Love you guys. Take care.
Thanks for having us.